뭐야?
Hey, buddy. It's early morning, so I gotta. You know what I mean? Why my voice sounds like this, and I look like this, but I got this on. Look. Do what makes your soul happy, or take time to do what makes your soul happy. Tuning. Nice gift from somebody. Don't know who. No note. But this is irrelevant. Or is it? Is the BU after all? Today we've got Young Forever. Epilogue, Young Forever. I've got notes from Run, which was the last video. And of course, my notes are terribly undetailed. There needs to be more detail. I've got B is wearing a hat. Birth, reveal. B as a wanderer, isolated, different in some way. Jin, time, destiny. We looked up the Dum Spero, while I breathe, I hope, was the translation. There's a pattern of text showing up saying, easy, easy. Won't trust, can't trust, don't trust. Save me from myself. B has been consistently spray painting things, and we're seeing messages when we think back to other videos of spray painted items. So there's something about the spray painting that means something. We're seeing patterns of broken mirrors. Again, birth, rebirth from Jimin. I think he was in this water tank, and there was actually like a moment of like a fetal position, and then the thrashing, and then he's outside the tank. There's a birth, essentially. Hobie feathers. That's what I have. Hobie feathers. Regret. Youth is never coming back. Res non verba. Actions speak louder than words is the translation for res non verba. Pro memoria, something that's documented. Butterfly, and then Henry II. I don't think we got anything on Henry II. But there was also this message of, and it looks like HOIDOE, some weird character, and then I, which is Dutch for hello, goodbye. So we picked up on a lot of things. There were also a couple numbers that, as of right now, don't mean anything, but one was 626. I don't know, could be random, doubtful. The other one was 3/1/2016. Now again, in my world, that's March 1st, 2016. In everybody else's world, that's January 3rd, 2016. But I couldn't find anything relevant yet. So, a new page. We've got Young Forever. Shall we be you, the BU?
음악이 내리고 나는 숨이 차 복잡해진 마음 숨을 내쉰다 오늘 뭐 실수는 없었으나 관객들의 표정은 어땠던가 그래도 행복해 난 이런 내가 됐어 누군가 소리 지르게 만들 수가 있었어 작아지지 않은 영웅들을 품에 안고 아직도 downtown 빈 무대에 섰을 때 downtown 빈 무대에 섰을 때 그 난공허함에 난 겁을 내 복잡한 감정 속에서 삶의 사선 위에서 근실이 난 더 무딘 척을 해 처음도 아닌데 익숙해질 법한데 숨기려 해도 그게 안돼 텅 빈 무대가 식어갈 때쯤 빈객석을 뒤로 하네 지금 나 외로워하네 완벽한 세상은 없다고 자신에게 말해 난 점점 날 비워가네 언제까지 내 거일 순 없어 큰 박수 갈 채가 이런 내게 말을 해 뻔뻔히 네 목소리를 높여 더 멀리 영원한 관객은 없대도 난 노래할 거야 오늘의 나로 영원하고파 영원히 소년이고 싶어 나 Forever we are young 나리는 꽃잎이 사이로 헤매어 달린 내 미러 Forever we are young 넘어져 다치고 아파도 끝없이 달린 내 꿈을 향해 Forever ever 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 꿈 희망 전진 Forever ever ever we are young Forever ever 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 꿈 희망 전진 Forever ever ever we are young Forever we are young 나리는 꽃잎들 사이로 헤매어 달린 내 힘으로 Forever we are young 넘어져 다치고 아파도 끝없이 달린 내 꿈을 향해 Forever we are young 나리는 꽃잎들 사이로 헤매어 달린 내 힘으로 Forever 넘어져 다치고 아파도 끝없이 달린 내 꿈을 향해
Contrary to the earlier videos in the BU, I don't think this one is going to be as heavily symbolic as the other ones. There's still some things we need to pick apart, but I don't think this one is going to be as wild. But let's find out. Maybe once we get in, we'll find some interesting tidbits. I cannot hear this song ever without thinking about Army singing to the boys. Oh, can't I will always hear the crowd. Oh, that's pretty good. Maybe we should do a t-shirt like that in the shop. Young forever, I will always hear the crowd. Oh, yo, let's make that happen. Write that down for me. Thank you very much. Right off the bat, here's what I see. The fence, the maze, and then this symbol in the middle, to me, is a helicopter landing zone, HLZ. I wouldn't have thought that's what it was, because I mean, literally, that's what that is to me. It's the H, the circle. Helicopter, land here. I wouldn't have thought about that until later when I saw them on the runway. So there's two symbols of flight in some way. Now, what'll be interesting is the maze. They didn't show it long enough. Well, let's pause it. What would be interesting is to see, basically for us to solve the maze. I wonder. Let's go back to this if I remember. It would be interesting. Maybe there's, is there even a way through? Well, we can't see the whole thing. That's the problem. But it's a maze. Okay? Negatives. Now notice the strands of cloth on the fence. I think, and notice the smoke right now. This is I don't know if tribute is the right word, but I think there's a tie-in here to fire. The fence, the smoke, the cloth on the fence. Remember what the cloth said in fire? Youth. Young forever. Youth. I don't think this is a bit of a stretch at all. I think we're dead on. But remember, in the last video in Run, it actually said on the wall, youth is never coming back. This does not say youth. It's the same material, but it's tattered and it's gone. Youth is never coming back. I know I seem calm, cool, and collected right now, but I'm incredibly proud of spotting that right now. But I gotta be quiet, because I'm an adult. 표정은 어땠던가 그래도 행복해 난 이런 내가 됐어 누군가 소리 지르게 만들 수가 있었어 작아지지 않은 영웅들을 품에 안고 집도 downtown 빈 무대에 섰을 때 downtown 빈 무대에 섰을 때 See, and there's more fire. We're tying it all together. If I remember correctly, this is the same stance that Suga had in Fire. Again, more homage. Okay, more feathers. I had Hobie feathers. Didn't know what that meant. Wasn't sure if it was just something weird. But we got more feathers. The mirrors. It didn't occur to me until this shot happened when I first started watching it that I don't think it's necessarily just a matter of broken mirrors, even though we have seen that, but there is a pattern of mirrors throughout all these videos so far. Well, most of them, I guess. And I think if we apply the theory that we have now of fate and destiny and the potential of us changing that fate or destiny, we have to ask, well, what does the mirror represent? Think about it. The mirror tells you what's real, right? Hypothetically, let's say you have something like, I don't know, I guess that analogy wouldn't work. But you look in the mirror, there you are. You can do anything you want, but the mirror is going to tell you the truth. I mean, unless it's a funhouse mirror, let's not get crazy. You got work to do. But the mirror is like a now, right now, there I am, this is what's real. Mirror can't just create something that's not real, right? And it feels like we're getting reminded of each of the person's stories. We got Hobie with the pills, Sugar with the fire, JK, he's in front of the car. We even get this little number looking off into the distance, or into the past for that matter. So they're trying to find each other. They're trying to get to each other. See, the fence, this might be a little deep. The fence, instead of just like, because they could have done this a number of ways. I think the fence does pay homage to fire and the youth aspect we talked about. But they could have done this maze in a whole bunch of ways. They could have, ribbon walls or, sheets or something, any number of ways. But the fact that it's fence and you can see through it, if we're applying that logic to this theory, one, the guys are trying to find each other, or they're trying to get to each other. But two, with this medium being the maze material, I guess, what it's built with, the guys are aware of the others. Like, they don't feel like they're alone. They can see the guys. Like, they know that they're there. They just can't get to them yet. We're doing all right. I'm kind of sad this is so short. That last shot raises some questions for me. So this is clearly Tae. Tae is now out of the maze. Everybody else is out. They're walking toward each other. But what's the question mark of this shot, really? Tae's upside down. What does that mean? It means we're talking about two different planes, two different runway. When I said planes, I'm talking about like a dimensional plane, like a plane of time, chronologically, a plane. Runway, them being on the runway, and now Tae is upside down, the other guys are there, and they're going to meet up and everything will be normal because we watch all 7 of them walk away together. This tells me we're dealing with a plane. If that's true, that is brilliant with whoever came up with that. I raise my Dorito to you, sir. Now, I know that didn't make sense, but in my head, I was going to say, I should buy that person a bag of Doritos. But I should also be more respectful and say, I raise my hat to you. Well, best of both worlds, I raise my Dorito to you. I wish I had my sunglasses. I would put them on and say, deal with it. Plane, different planes. And again, we go back to the pattern of Tae being the one that's always the one out, aside from Jin. I think we've established that Jin is some kind of, and I'll say entity. I don't get the feeling like he's a deity because he's not controlling things per se. If that is the deity of your choice or however you want to look at it. But I think he's a force. I think he's an entity. He's some kind of construct incarnate. And Tae has been the wanderer this whole time. He's been the one out that's lost. I mean, even the last shot, we see a couple guys leave the maze. They're out. But we go right back to Tae, who is still moving slowly and lost. He eventually gets out. We get this, we're on different planes, but once they find each other, it all fixes. Watch.
Forever we are.
Right there. They're all together now. They're all on the same plane.
넘어져 다치고 아파도 끝없이 달리 내 꿈을 향해
I will always hear the crowd. Oh, that moves me. I'm sure there's something here, but I just don't know. This whole thing is essentially like a recap. They're recapping through the medium of the photos, of the videos, and they do that really well because, and I'll go into director mode here, because they're using these filters and these overlays to show you that when we go back and we remind you of things that have happened, they're in older mediums. Like there's glitch on the screen. We're using old photos.
오늘 뭐 실수는 없었었나 관객들의 표정은 어땠던가 그래도 행복해 난 이런 내가 됐어 누군가 소리 지르게 만들 수가 있었어 작아지지 않은 영웅들의 품에.
So like see the low resolution of this video, you can see how there's a grain over the top. Again, a very distressed filter. And then old Polaroids, which we know is part of the pattern of the BU anyway, Polaroids. There's a lot of symbolism regarding impermanence. We get the Polaroids, which become a thing. It's a thing that I can hold, I can see it, I can put it away, and then 5 years from now I come back, I can still pick it up and look at it. It still exists. But I can take fire, and I can set that picture on fire, and it's gone. There's an impermanence there. That last shot of us when we see forever in the sky is perfectly blue except for a couple clouds. But watch the clouds. Maybe I didn't go far enough.
넘어져 다치고 아파도 끝없이 달리 내 꿈을 향해
Right there. So the clouds are moving really fast. I think the reason for that is to get the point of this shot in the time frame of this shot. So we have to speed it up. It's a bit of a time lapse. What I think is so fascinating, and this is quasi-related, but you'll see where I'm going, hopefully. You look at a cloud, like right now, you look at a cloud, you'll see it moving, because the clouds move, but you don't generally tend to see them change and morph. But if you time-lapse clouds, it literally looks like vapor. They take on this, there's a whole shape where they just transform and then they dissipate or whatever. And that's kind of what we're seeing. At some point, that cloud, that moisture will just dissipate and become nothing. And that's what I mean in terms of impermanence. That cloud shot right there tells me, yet again, we're dealing with impermanence. Youth will never come back. Your youth is very temporary. Could be a state of mind, we can argue that, but everything else, birth, rebirth, we talked about nirvana and transcendent state, cycle of death and rebirth. So the plane is the plane a representation of where they're going next? We've seen the 7 of them in different times or locations or storylines. Does the plane represent their next adventure? Maybe. I'm really not sure about that. I'm sure there's something really deep that maybe this is the first seed that they plant, and then as we continue, we'll get more clues. I'm not sure. But I do think I was right. I think this was more of a recap. You know what? Now I have to wonder. First, I'll hit the lyrics, but I'm admittedly going to Google the word epilogue, because as much as I've seen it and said it and heard it, I should know what that means, but maybe that will tell me a little clue. Epilogue, a section or speech at the end of a book or play that serves as a comment on or a conclusion to what has happened. The meaning of the book's title is revealed in the epilogue. So, this is the end of a chapter, if you will, is what it seems like. So, the plane coming in could be them leaving, they're done. Or, this is the end of this chapter, now we begin the next chapter. So here's what I have. The fence, the tattered cloth, youth from fire. We had smoke coming through. We had even Suga's body position, I think, was very similar to fire. We had the maze. We had different forms of flight, or I guess departure, or even arrival for that matter. With the helicopter landing zone, we have the runway. We were looking at negatives. So, yeah, it was photo negatives. So that could mean we're talking about the past, but it could also translate to negative forms of memories or bad things that have happened. Maybe. The youth from the fence with the cloth was gone. Youth is never coming back. We tied that together. The guys getting to each other in the maze, they're aware of each other, they can see each other, they just can't quite get to each other. But in the end, they do. What's interesting is, and I would have to go back and look, because I wonder if the 6 of them at some point are in the maze where we can see other guys, except for V, who could be in his own maze. And the reason I say that is because at the end, we see V is upside down, and the other guys are right side up. And eventually they meet, everything's perfect, and we move on. And then finally, different planes. Time, dimensions, however you want to put it. Let's hit some lyrics, shall we? You know, we got to be careful here because these notes every time get really, really risky. Okay, the most beautiful moment in life, part 1. Part 2, young forever. Where am I going? Young forever. Okay, there's our video. Here we go. So you can see that. The curtain falls. I get out of breath. And my mind gets complicated. I breathe out. Was there any mistake today? How was the facial expression of the audience? But I'm happy because I became who I am. Because I can make someone scream out loud as I, embracing the yet lingering feelings, stand on the empty, still hot stage. Standing on the empty but hot stage, I get scared of the idle emptiness. In my complicated mind and on the verge of death in life, I pretend to be more numb for no reason. It's not even the first time, and I should be used to it by now. But even though I try to hide it, I can't. When the empty stage is about to cool down, I turn away from the audience seats. I comfort myself now. I tell myself that a perfect world doesn't exist. Gradually, I empty myself. The huge applause can't be mine forever. I talk to myself shamelessly. Raise your voice to reach farther. Even if there is no everlasting audience, I will sing. I wish to remain forever as today's myself. I wish to remain forever as a boy. Forever we are young. In the fluttering flower petal rain, I wander and run in this maze. Forever we are young. Even if I fall, get wounded, and it aches, I run endlessly to my dream. Forever. Dream, hope, forward, forward. Forever we are young. In the fluttering flower petal rain, I wander and run in this maze. Even the lyrics tie some stuff together for us. This part about I wish to remain forever as today's myself. Wow, a great line. Even if there is no everlasting audience, I will sing. Young forever. I will always hear the crowd. I can hear it now. I mean, this whole piece about the stage, with the audience, curtain. I'm visualizing the scene of what this is written about. I mean, think about that. See who wrote this. Junie, Sugar, J-Hope. Okay, so we got the rap line, we got Hitman Bang, Slow Rabbit. The curtain falls and my mind gets complicated. Did I make a mistake? Like, how was the audience reaction? I'm happy because I became who I am. I can make someone scream out loud. But I'm standing on this empty stage, still hot from the show. And I'm embracing these feelings. I get scared of the idle emptiness in my complicated mind, and on the verge of death in life, I pretend to be more numb for no reason. Perfect world doesn't exist. Wow. This is really deep. Wow. Okay. Here's what I think about these lyrics. See, for some reason, this set of lyrics, like I feel like I'm standing in the writer's shoes. And I say the writer because we know that there's 5 writers attached to this, between the rap line, Hitman Bang, and who was that? Slow Rabbit. Between the 5 writers, like, we accumulate, we have 1 writer. Got it. The writer is performing. There's an energy to the show. People are screaming. You're in performance mode. It's kind of autopilot. You've done this before. You're feeding off the energy of the crowd. There's a magic there. You just you ride the wave. Once that curtain drops and it's just you and you're left on that empty stage, that's when your brain kicks back into, oh, it's time to work. I need to think now. I didn't need to think out there because it's autopilot mode. This is just what I do. I'm a performer. I feed off the crowd. But now it's just me. This internal dialogue that's happening is so brilliantly put, because now the curtain's down. Can't see the crowd anymore. This is where my mind starts to betray me in a way. I start beating myself up, like, did I make any mistakes? Was the audience really into it? Right? You start questioning yourself, self-doubt. Embracing the yet lingering feelings, like, I know how this is going to go. I know how this is going to affect me. Empty, still hot stage. See, even the fact that twice we say hot stage is pointing out that the show literally just happened. This all just took place. The stage hasn't even cooled down yet, and I'm already struggling with the fact that there's an impermanence here, that this is going to go away. And why do I say that? How do I know that? Because the next line, I get scared of the idle emptiness. My translation to that, is this the beginning of the end? I pretend to be more numb for no reason. It's almost like you're trying to close yourself off to that message. I never want this to go away. So I'm just going to go numb. I'm going to stop thinking about it. Because if I think about it, it could happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird how our brains work. It's not even the first time, and I should be used to it by now. But even though I try to hide it, I can't. I comfort myself. I tell myself that a perfect world doesn't exist. Okay? Trying to talk yourself out of the spiral. Like, hey, it's never going to be perfect. You're not going to figure out all the answers. We got to do the best we can. Gradually, I empty myself. Let it go, I think. The huge applause can't be mine forever. I talk to myself shamelessly. Raise your voice to reach farther. Even if there is no everlasting audience, I will sing. I wish to remain forever as today's myself. I wish to remain forever as a boy. Following that dream. We've heard a recent quote from Yoongi that I think either P-Dog or Hitman Bang had repeated, but it talked about Yoongi and the whole Peter Pan thing. Like, I never want to grow up. When you grow up, you stop chasing your dreams. And I'm really butchering that phrase, but you get the idea. I love the notion of moments, snapshots. I talk about things like this a lot. I mean, even on my arm, my wrist, my tattoo says, "Be here now." That's a moment. You have to consciously decide to be in that moment. This song is describing a moment, and there's a lot of energy around that moment. This whole young forever thing is like, with this scene, the writer suggests, like, I want to be this version of me in this moment forever. I can't. And that devastates me. The reality is here. In the fluttering flower petal rain, I wander and run in this maze. Flower petal rain. Earlier, I had said in one of the previous videos that Jin was taking these flower petals and laying them down. And I think I even counted them and said, oh, I think one of those is for each of the guys. Could be. But is there a chance that these flower petals, not just representing the guys or even at all, but they represent the construct of things that are meant to happen? You know, maybe not everything is laid out, but there's pieces. So it's like, if you imagine on the stage the 6 guys, because Jin's up top, and he takes these flower petals and he releases them, and they flutter down, and we create a fluttering flower petal rain. Well, if Jin represents fate and destiny, these flower petals essentially symbolize the fact that things are kind of laid out, fellas. Things are going to be how they're going to be. And you have to deal with that. That's Jin's job as fate and destiny. The guys, in turn, wander and run in this maze. It's a maze. I don't know where they're going. They have to try to get through it. But the later point comes to be, I think, this is my theory, that fate and destiny doesn't have as much control as we think. We have a lot more control. And we can change fate and destiny. This is why we saw the House of Cards go down. This is why we've seen Jin kind of stop and get a little shook, because he had to like recalculate what the story was, because somebody did something that changed fate, destiny, or however. Dream, hope, forward. Forever we are young. Fantastic. So that was an epilogue. That is, I'm assuming that's only 6 videos in, so we've got a lot more to do. And this is like, I guess, the end of the first chapter, maybe, or there's a first section. That's what it feels like. Because we've established a whole bunch of stuff. We've kind of set a foundation. And as we move forward, we need to take that information from the first series, 1 through 6, I guess, and then apply it to what's coming next. What's going to get tricky is if we have this foundation built right now from videos 1 through 6, and we have an understanding of these constructs that the storyline has built, one of two things can happen as we continue forward. We get into episode 7. Will it be a continuation of the current foundation? More information, just giving us more confirmation of what we think and what we're trying to decipher? Or will it be an entirely new storyline that will somehow later parallel what we know now? We take story A, all of a sudden there's story B that seems to be completely irrelevant. And then at the end of story B, we realize that there's a parallel between the two. We don't know, and we won't know until episode 7. I hope you enjoyed this. If you found something that I didn't catch, do not put it in the comments. Are you crazy? Now, granted, this is for my patrons, my Patreon people. And I tell you what, I made the right decision putting this whole journey on Patreon first while I'm going through it, because so far everybody has been wonderful in terms of just like giving the video a like, being like, hey, I'm really enjoying the journey, and then that's it. No spoilers. I released episode 1 to the public on YouTube because a lot of people wanted to know, I'd like to see what his journey looks like, but I don't know if I want to see what it looks like. Okay, here's episode 1. You can see it's an hour of me tearing this video apart. The comment section is a place I will never go until I am done with the BU. Even with the warnings or whatever I said in the video, it didn't matter. Comment after comment of people laying out, here's what it actually means. Whew, are you crazy? Now, granted, I haven't read any of that, but I've already received like heads up from people like, whoa, don't read the comments. Got it. Easy day. Because I don't want it to be ruined for me either. I love this stuff, if you can't tell. I hope you had a good time. This was episode 6, Be You and Me. Young forever. I will always hear proud.